my chicken and veggie skillet. And I'm using some chicken thighs, some root veggies I had in the fridge. I got some rainbow carrots, I got parsnips. I'm using beets and onions. I am slicing my vegetables into bite-sized pieces. And I've also peeled all of my veggies as well. The next thing I'm going to slice is a red onion. And a red onion adds more onion flavor, so a big punch of onion flavor, which I really like. I'm gonna add some olive oil to my bowl, and I'm gonna season my root vegetables with my house seasoning. That's some salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and a little bit of paprika. Goes well with anything. Give it a toss. So I have 4 chicken thighs here. I'm gonna hit it with a little olive oil. So I've just added some Dijon mustard to the skin of my chicken thighs. Not only is it gonna help kind of like tenderize the chicken and give it a little tangy flavor, but it's also gonna help the seasoning stick right on top of that. Spread that Dijon mustard on both sides. And now I'm just gonna add my house seasoning. I'm gonna grab my root vegetables, my chicken. I'm gonna add a little oil to my hot skillet. I'm just gonna sear both sides of my chicken skin side down first, and then the chicken is gonna cook through in the oven. So I've had this skillet for a very long time, so it's well seasoned. All right, so now it's time to flip my chicken thighs and let the backside sear. Look at that nice, pretty golden brown color. The cast iron just kind of absorbs flavor, especially when you're like frying something. Oh my gosh, all the oils and the seasonings and all of the brown bits that kind of get stuck in it. That's why you never should use soap in your cast iron skillet, especially when cleaning. And if you want to clean your skillet, make sure you do it right after cooking and use hot water with a stiff brush. Then use a towel to dry. Never let your cast iron sit in water, sit in soap, just ruin it. I'm gonna remove the chicken now and then add in my veggies. All right, now I'm gonna add my root veggies. So I like to saute my veggies in the same skillet right before I put it in the oven because it kind of helps the cooking process. Once you get a nice sear on it, cook it down just a little bit, it'll cook faster in the oven. Now I'm going to add my chicken back to my skillet, kind of nestle it in there. And now I have some fresh herbs that I like to add in there as well. I'm gonna add some thyme, a little rosemary, tarragon. It smells like heaven in here right now. All right, so I'm going to roast this at 400 degrees until like the juices in the chicken run clear and the internal temperature reaches about 165. While that roasts in the oven, I am gonna make a garlic butter sauce to pour on top. I'm gonna add about 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I'm gonna squeeze the juice of half of this lemon, so about 1 tablespoon. Now I'm gonna add some minced garlic, a little salt, a little black pepper, some dry sherry. Now, if you're making this for kids and you don't necessarily want them to have any alcohol, that's fine, even though most of it will cook out. But if you wanna make this for your children, you can, by all means, skip the sherry. I'm gonna roughly chop some fresh parsley. All right, so my butter sauce is done, and so is my chicken. Come on, y'all. Come on, look at that. That is good cooking right there. And it's just gorgeous. Oh yeah, get all that garlic in there. I'm smelling all of those fresh herbs. And then all that garlic does is just kind of mix in with some of those natural juices and creates a sauce for the chicken. Man, that chicken is nice and juicy and super flavorful with that house seasoning. And then that garlic lemon butter just creates the sauce that goes so well on the chicken. And don't get me started on these root veggies. Beets are so sweet. And the parsnip, oh my gosh. And I'm getting like a mouthful of garlic, which I really enjoy because I love garlic. This is such a solid dish to make.
When the last of the kids finally left the house and Lad and I became empty nesters, I had to get used to quite a few things. I had to get used to less laundry, fewer groceries, less chaos. It was very, very quiet there at the start. Another thing I've had to get used to is just cooking for 2 people. It's been a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I finally have a nice bunch of recipes for 2 that I want to share with you. I'm going to start with apple cider pork chops. These are so delicious, perfect for any weeknight, really packed with flavor and gorgeous color too. So I just have 4 very thin breakfast chops, and I'm making a super simple breading. All I added to the dish was a little bit of flour and some barbecue rub seasoning. And it's just amazing how little flour it takes for this recipe. I have a skillet with just a little bit of oil and butter, and I'm gonna dredge these pork chops one by one, and I'll just put them straight into the skillet. It's on about medium heat. And this is just a nice light breading. It gives you a little bit of breading, but it doesn't just weigh it down like a really heavy chicken fried steak type breading. And these pork chops are so thin that they're gonna cook really quickly, which is nice. Gone are the days when I would have to make, say 18, 24 pork chops a night. When Bryce, Jamar, and Todd were all home in high school playing football, it was like I couldn't make enough pork chops. And now I know that Lad and I both can eat 2 each at the most. If we're lucky, we may even have a little bit left over for lunch the next day. This empty nest life is hilarious. Okay, the pork chops are in the skillet. So I just need to let them cook for about 2 minutes per side since they're so thin, and then I'll take them out of the pan. The pork chops cook really fast. 2 minutes is all it takes. Then I'll flip them over, give them the same time on the other side, and take them out onto a pan. Now this is a 1-pan meal, so I'm gonna add some potatoes to the mix, and I have these teeny tiny baby potatoes, and I cut them in half so they would cook even faster. And I'm just pouring them into the skillet without cleaning it because there's so much flavor in that skillet with the pork chops and that barbecue seasoning. And then I'll sprinkle over some sliced red onion. You can do regular yellow onion if that's what you have. I think red onion is particularly pretty. And I also have some sliced garlic cloves, so I'll sprinkle those over. And plenty of rosemary. Okay, now it's a little tough, but I need to let the potatoes cook without stirring them. I'm just gonna let that go for a couple of minutes. Okay, the potatoes are sizzling away, so I am gonna go ahead and start stirring, and then the onions will have a chance to cook. Oh my gosh. Now, even though this is a meal for 2, I used a pretty big pan because I wanted there to be enough of that surface area so I could sprinkle all the potatoes in. All right, so I'm gonna move on with some liquid. These are apple cider pork chops, so the apple cider goes in first, and the natural sugars in the apple cider are gonna start to kind of cook and caramelize. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. And just a little bit of chicken stock to give it a little more liquid. If you wanted to, you could add some white wine or even something like a little hit of whiskey, bourbon. Any kind of booze would be really, really good in this. All right, and then I have some balsamic glaze, and I'll just squeeze in a good tablespoon or 2. And that just kind of adds that deep, rich balsamic tanginess, and the sweetness from the glaze also helps a lot too. You know, this skillet was so hot, and it's big enough that the sauce is already really starting to reduce. If you need to give it a couple of minutes to thicken and reduce a little bit, just go right ahead. Everything will still be delicious. All right, that has reduced by about half. So I'm gonna make this even more scrumptious by adding a little bit of heavy cream. I'll just pour it here, there, and everywhere. The cream is optional. If you want the dish to be less creamy, just leave it out. I love dishes like this, just one-pan meals where you can decide which direction to take it. The basic recipe is delicious no matter what direction you go. Okay, now one last thing, a little hit of green. I've got some spinach leaves, and at this point, the sauce is pretty much cooking. You just want to stir it around long enough for the spinach to wilt about halfway. I like to serve it when the spinach is still kind of just halfway wilted, and that way it's not totally mushy. Okay, ooh, this looks so pretty. I love this dish. So much flavor going on. I think I'm gonna sprinkle in a little bit of pepper, just for fun. Now, truth be told, on any given night, Lad would be more than happy if I just made a cheeseburger or a steak. But I would lose interest quick if I had to make a steak or a burger every single night. So I love dishes like this that they kind of cross the protein off the list. Lad loves pork chops, but it also satisfies my need for flavor and texture and color. All right, looks fantastic. So I'm gonna turn the heat off and get the pork chops. And I'm just gonna nestle them in, or you can put them straight on the plates and spoon the sauce over and alongside. You can sort of push the ingredients all around the chops. But how pretty is this? You can even take a little balsamic, just decorate it a little bit. All right, and finally, a sprinkle of parsley. I love this dish. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's just enough for Lad and me.
I'm making some thick, juicy pork chops, and I'm gonna brighten things up with an herby salsa verde that I'll drizzle all over. They're super easy. I just start with a spice rub and then sear them and finish them in the oven so they stay really moist. To start, I'm covering these with my spice blend, which is sweet and smoky. It just has salt and pepper and then sugar and paprika. Let me give them a flip so that I can sprinkle them on the other side. I've got some 1-inch thick bone-in pork chops. The bone keeps them moist and flavorful. Now I'll get some oil into my pan. I've got a big cast iron pan that'll fit all of these. It's heating over medium-high. And I love using cast iron to sear my pork chops because it can take the heat and then it'll also go right into the oven. Oh yeah, that is exactly the sound I want to hear. That means my pan is hot enough, my oil is hot enough, and that crust is gonna start to develop. Oh, and I'm smelling that paprika already. I'm ready to flip my meat. Oh, that is a good crust. I'll let these sear for another minute and then finish these in the oven at 425 degrees for about 10 minutes. I want the internal temperature to be between 140 and 145 degrees. I'm so excited for that first bite of meat. Oh yeah, look at that juicy meat. I'm gonna transfer these now to a rack. I don't want them to get soggy on the bottom. I want them to stay crisp. I'll let them rest for a few minutes, and in the meantime, I'm gonna make my salsa verde. I start with loads of fresh parsley, a few scallions for some sweet onioniness, lemon zest and juice to brighten it up. It's gonna be really good. A clove of garlic, a plop of zippy Dijon. A couple of tablespoons of capers are great in salsa verde because they add those briny notes. Some heat with a sprinkling of cayenne, and I'll season with salt and pepper. And I'll pulse it until it has kind of a pasty texture. It smells so fresh. And with the motor on, I'm gonna drizzle in my olive oil to bring everything together. Oh yeah, this is exactly the consistency that I'm looking for. It's kind of like a pesto. I'm ready to plate everything up. I'll pour my salsa verde into my serving bowl. I'll slice up my chops, cutting off the bone and against the grain. That bone really kept this meat juicy. Okay, these are ready for a drizzle with the salsa verde. Oh, it really livens things up.
We're making layered skillet brownie sundae, and they are out of this world good. So brownie mix, eggs, milk, and butter. I'll do the milk, you do the butter. And then I will stir this. Actually, while I stir this, you can start putting the cookies in the skillet. So what you want to do is just lay the slices of cookie dough and then press it into a single layer, okay?
Gotcha.
And I'll race you and see if you can get that done before I get the brownie mix mixed together. So Stu, like Mauricio, is not big on sweets. Is this an accurate statement?
It's true, but me and Paige have been eating a lot of candy lately, so.
Lodi.
And is there an end to that story?
Nope,
or-
that's
okay, it's just
so
that.
now I am kind of into sweets.
Okay. Well, like what kind of sweets do you like? Like layered skillet brownie sundaes, for instance?
That would probably be my first choice. And then from there, cakes and ice
Cake.
cream.
Cupcake?
Oh yeah, cupcakes.
Well, this is seriously good. This is like an incredible skillet full of brownie goodness. So we used a roll of chocolate chip cookie dough bought in the store. Nothing to be ashamed about. The brownies are mixed together, so I'm gonna put those over to the side for now. Okay, so this is a layered skillet brownie. So we are going to add a layer
like it.
of chocolate sandwich cookies, we like to call them. You can just eat that one. Okay, so now this is kind of fun. So I'm gonna squirt caramel, like kind of in between the cookies. Do you wanna do that? Just kind of fill in the blanks.
Ooh. All right, that should be enough.
Okay, good. And then just gonna plop the whole brownie mix right on top. Oh my gosh.
This is what I'm looking for.
And then I'll let you spread that, Stu. So you wanna get it out to the edges.
What do you think?
That looks good. Now, the only thing about baking this, Stu, is you have to have patience.
Oh no.
It takes 45 minutes
Oh no.
at 350.
You're gonna make me wait?
But the good news is, I already
No
baked one
way.
for you. So I not only did that,
Get a look at this.
Oh my gosh.
but I also scooped out some ice cream because I
You
know
are too good.
patience is not your strong suit. No offense. And some sprinkles. I like to decorate it with chocolate sauce.
Cherries?
Hold on.
Okay.
Can't have cherries without the
Whipped
whipped cream. Aw, Stu. Great job. High five.
What
You
a
did
blast.
it. Looks amazing.
It's Passover, and I'm whipping up my giant skillet latke, which is a huge crispy potato pancake topped with smoked salmon and all of its tasty friends. To get going on my latke mixture, I'm gonna shred up 2 russet potatoes, and then I'll also add half of a yellow onion. I'm ready to shred these up. I'm gonna shred them right in my food processor. The whole process is so easy that way. Okay, done. Easiest shredding ever. Let me get my bowl. So always when making latkes, it's important to draw as much moisture out of the potatoes as possible, and that'll ensure an extra crispy latke. So it's something that can't be rushed. I've got a strainer sitting in my bowl, and I've lined the strainer with a clean kitchen towel. You can also use a cheesecloth. And I'll pour this mixture right in, and then I'll add a few good pinches of salt, which will help draw the moisture out of the potatoes. All right, this is looking good. I'll set this aside to drain while I put together the rest of my latke mixture. I've got a lemon, some matzo meal, and a couple of eggs. I'll crack these right in. I'll add half a cup of matzo meal, which will help bind the latke. And matzo meal is just ground up matzah. It's the smell of Passover and the smell of spring. The zest and juice of half a lemon. Zest before you juice. It's really hard to zest a juiced lemon. I'll season with salt and pepper. And then I'll chop up some fresh dill. It goes beautifully with the salmon that's gonna go on top. I'll toss this in. I'll mix this around. Okay, this is looking good. I'm gonna check on my potatoes. Oh yeah, a lot of liquid has come out of them. I'm gonna give them a squeeze to to make sure every last bit of moisture has been exiled. I want this to be extra crispy. It's a good arm workout. I think that's all I have the strength for. I'll toss these right in. I'll mix this all together. I'm gonna stick this in the fridge for about 30 minutes so that everything can melt, and then that's gonna help it hold its shape once I fry it up. My mixture is set and I'm ready to fry. I'll heat up my skillet and I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm gonna add the mixture right to the center, carefully because I don't want the oil to splatter. Oh, that's a good sizzle. And I'll press it out evenly all the way to the edge of the skillet. All right, this is patted out. I'll let it sizzle for 5 minutes on the stove and then stick it in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 minutes, and then it'll be ready to flip. My latke's out of the oven, the edges are golden, so I know it's time to flip. Now I find it's easiest to invert it onto a plate and then slide it back in. It just ensures that it won't break. This is hot, so I'm gonna be really careful. Here we go. Ah, look how pretty that is. I've gotta get it golden on the other side now, so I'll gently slide it back into the skillet. I'll let this finish up its cooking in the oven for another 10 minutes while I gather my toppings. I'm gonna check on my latke. Oh, this looks great and crispy. And now I'm gonna make it look even better with all these colorful toppings. I'll start with a few dollops of creme fraiche for a nice cooling creaminess, some folds of smoked salmon, sliced medium boiled eggs, a few shakes of hot sauce, sliced scallions, and dill for pops of green, and then I'll finish with flaky salt and pepper. Okay, this is gorgeous. I'm going to sneak a taste. Oh, I can hear how crispy that is.
Today, I'm making one of my all-time favorite cuts of beef. I'm talking about the king of all steaks, the Porterhouse. Look at that big hunk of beef. First step, you wanna salt the heck out of this. Got a cast iron skillet back here on high heat. You wanna get it smoking hot, okay? Then put some canola oil in the pan. Now let's put this bad boy in the skillet. 3 minutes going on the clock. Do not move the steak. You want a great sear on the steak. Gus, it's a good thing I have you here to entertain me while I wait on this steak. Can you look cute or something? Turn your little head. Oh, that's so cute. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Steak's done. I'm gonna take it out of the pan. See that perfect sear? Now I'm gonna do something that is so counterintuitive. I'm gonna take this steak and I'm gonna cut it right off the bone. So this is a method that old school New York steakhouses use. Now we're gonna put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Hot skillet's coming back. Now it's gonna get even better than that. I'm covering it in butter. Now this goes under the broiler. For medium rare, it's going in for 4 to 5 minutes. If you like it medium, 7 to 8 minutes. Here we go. I gotta have a wedge. Instead of slicing these into traditional wedges, I slice them into discs. Blue cheese dressing, that's the classic. And I'm gonna season my lettuce before I dress it. It's always important to season every step of the way. Steak's done. Woo, look at that. Oh, amazing. Tell you the best part is this bone. I like to put that under the broiler and then have a little bit of private time eating it alone. Gus, I think that this bone weighs almost as much as you. I love you, but I'm keeping it all for myself. Let's get a baked potato going. Look at this spread I've got going here. There's my Porterhouse steak, iceberg wedge, or iceberg disc, I should say. And my baked potato bar. Oh yeah. Look at that. Just a little extra butter. Pure perfection. I know this Porterhouse is supposed to serve two, but no one's looking. Okay, a little teeny tiny bite. I got my elastic waistband on. I think it's some meat sweats are about to happen.
Fall chicken skillet. So I just cooked some pieces of pancetta so that I could get some of that beautiful grease going in this skillet. So I'm gonna turn the heat up just a little bit. And for this chicken skillet, I am using my absolute favorite cut of chicken thighs, and not just any chicken thighs. Chicken thighs with the bone in, the skin on, the works. Nothing better in the world. So I'm gonna make a seasoning mix with cumin, smoked paprika. I just wanted to make sure I had the right stuff. And salt and pepper, and stir it together. And then I've got the skin side up, so I'm gonna start by seasoning the first side of the chicken thighs. Don't be alarmed if that gets a little bit smoky. You want it to be hot, because I'm gonna put it skin side down. Okay, I am gonna get this chicken in. You know what I love about chicken thighs is that they're actually cheaper than chicken breasts. And I have never understood that because they're so much more delicious. All right, so I'm taking the rest of this seasoning mix and sprinkling it over the second side. So I am gonna cook this chicken for probably 3 or 4 minutes on the first side, and then I'll turn it over and do another couple of minutes on the second side. So I'm gonna add to the skillet red onions and garlic. And then I have a mixture of sage, rosemary, and thyme that's finely minced. So I'm gonna just give it a stir and let that garlic really start to cook. I could just stand over this mixture forever. So I've got some other veggies to add. Brussels sprouts, raise your hand if you love them. Cauliflower, and butternut squash, which, I mean, when I started cooking, you had to get like a chainsaw to bust into a butternut squash and prep it yourself. Now you can just buy prepped butternut squash in the produce section. So to this mixture, not that I'm complaining, of course, added some salt and pepper. All right, I'm gonna cook these veggies for about 3 minutes. Don't go away. I'll be so lonely. So the stove goes off and the chicken thighs go on. And here's what happens. So you put the chicken thighs on top of the veggies, and this is gonna go in the oven, and basically the fat from the chicken and the juices just kind of trickle over the gorgeous veggies, and so the flavor when this is all done is through the roof. And you definitely want to make sure you get all of that juice in there from the plate. So before this goes back in the oven, I'm gonna top the chicken with a little bit more of the chopped herbs. And we're gonna go to the oven. I have a little surprise for you. Ooh, I bet you can't guess what it is.
Whatever could it be?
First of all, get a look at this before it goes in the oven.
Wow.
The chicken's not fully cooked, so it finishes cooking on top of the veggies. So this goes into a 375-degree oven for about 25, 30 minutes, and this is what it looks like. It looks about the same.
Oh my gosh, no.
But everything's done. So I'm gonna show you how to serve this. I did a little swap just because I thought it'd be fun. And I actually am gonna get in there and show you, like, just the beautiful veggies underneath, and just they're coated in that gorgeous chicken flavor. One more teeny little sprinkle of the herbs. You don't want to go overboard with them at this point because we have a lot in the dish. Balsamic glaze.
Yep.
You're kidding.
Yep.
I just think it adds kind of a little touch of elegance. And pomegranate seeds, which again, you can buy these in little deli containers in the produce section. Just kind of sweet and tart little nuggets. And then last but not least, I would never, ever let this pancetta go to waste.
Oh, yeah.
So here's what you do. You serve the individual portions onto plates, and then everybody can grab a roll and like dab in the pan.
I am making my cheesesteak skillet pizza.
I'm in.
All right? All right, so you're gonna help me out. I've got an iron skillet here, and I want you to put a little oil in that and then stretch out the pizza dough.
Oh, great.
You can buy your pizza dough, go right to the pizza place you like and ask to buy their dough. You can get it in the freezer department, just let it thaw and rest at room temperature. And I'm gonna get us started with our peppers and onions.
Don't forget that pop tube, but pizza dough too.
Yeah, you
Oh
can
yeah,
use that.
I think that that's great, yeah.
Pizza dough has gotten so much better, the premium
Oh, man.
pizza dough, right?
It's great. All right, so I'm gonna get my peppers going on there
It's
too.
so hot. That's a grill.
Really nice and hot. And I'm gonna get my steak going on it. So I'm using the package, you can get this in the butcher department, of the thinly sliced steak. Or if you wanna be fancy, like if you're GZ, you could pick up a really nice ribeye steak
That's
and
right.
hand it to the butcher and say, shave this for me.
That's right. I'm fancy sometimes too.
Yeah.
I think
do
it's
that.
made with a ribeye, isn't it? Traditionally, Jeff?
Traditionally, I think that ribeye might be in quotes at some of the more fast food joints, you know,
Yeah.
for your, you
It
know.
is an
but,
expensive cut.
but it's definitely,
Yeah,
Shaved.
you don't
Oh,
have to.
you don't have to
So
use
nice
ribeye.
and thin.
I agree
And
with
these packages usually come in 1 pound. We're only gonna use a half a pound. You can,
Why?
because we're just putting it on the pizza. There won't be enough space for it. But you can easily go ahead and cook up the whole thing at the same time if
Right.
you want, so that, you know, you can use it later for a sandwich.
It's so fast. It's almost
It goes
done.
so fast. Yeah, look at that. And I'm also gonna add a little garlic to my peppers and onions.
It's like a campfire cookout right here.
You guys, I used to spend Thanksgiving eating cheesesteaks in Philadelphia.
really?
I remember
Yeah.
you doing that.
I would
Yeah.
take the train down,
Yeah.
I'd get my cheesesteak, go back to the hotel, and watch their Thanksgiving Day parade down there.
I gotta
so
tell you,
much fun.
Atlantic City has some good cheesesteaks too.
I
They
love
get
a
a bad rap.
cheesesteak. Now, when I was a kid, my mom and I, when we'd go shopping at the mall, there was a cheesesteak place at the mall, and I always wanted to get a cheesesteak sandwich. That was
Right.
my big treat. So, and I love pizza, so I thought, why not combine the two? All right, so season it up, salt and pepper.
It needs it too. It needs.
Yeah, you gotta be generous there. And the great thing is that you don't have to cook this completely, because it is gonna cook again in the oven. So if you could try to go in here like they would do at the mall. Remember? All right, so this is looking good. Jeff, how's that going?
Good. You know, sometimes a great tip for home, too. If your pizza dough is like, you know, pulling back in, just let it be for a minute. It needs to relax a little more rather than tearing it open and creating those little holes and pockets. But so whatever you're in, you know, and remember, whenever you're doing a cast iron skillet pizza, too much oil, it's gonna totally shrink up even quicker because it's slick under there. So you maybe want to put the oil in after you stretch it out. Yeah,
All
but this
right.
is perfect. It's
That
good to go.
looks great. And it's gonna get nice and crispy on the bottom of this.
It's like it fries up in there in that oil.
All right, so I'm gonna top it with our peppers and onions.
Whoa.
Yum.
This is gonna be a new thing.
Yeah,
a thing.
it's a thing, right?
It's a
already
thing.
It's a thing.
That's the thing.
And if you feel like that it's getting, you know, more peppers and onions that you want, just save it, because you got all that extra leftover beef. Make it like a little taco action. All right, now I'm gonna chop it with the beef. Get all that on there.
So this
Everybody
is a
is gonna
sauceless
be
pizza.
loving this. Yeah, it's a
Oh.
sauceless pizza.
Wow.
You could serve it with a dipping sauce if you liked. You know, you could put some melted cheese as a dipping. It'd be great with a ranch dipping or a marinara dipping.
Or just at the end, after you pull it out of the oven, just drizzle that cheese sauce, that orange
Yes.
cheese sauce all over, right from the jar.
All right, I'm going with mozzarella cheese and provolone cheese.
From the jar.
I love the provolone.
Provolone has that smell you have to.
Yep.
Now, if you want to do this and only dirty one dish, you can cook your steak and your peppers in this iron skillet and then wipe it out and do it. Okay, so, ooh, this is heavy. You're gonna go into the oven, 450 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. And I've got one in here.
I didn't see it, I didn't peek.
Already done. Here we go.
Oh, the smell of cooked green bell peppers is
Yeah, it's
so
wondrous.
distinct.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Looking good, right?
Crispy
Yummy?
done.
Okay, so let's get it out of here.
Oh, this is gonna be trouble for me, I know.
Hey,
See how nice and crispy it is?
Oh, right out of there.
that is perfect.
Pizza Nista.
Yep. And let's get right in here. This is gonna be a thicker crust pizza, which I like because it makes me think more of a cheesesteak, having that nice bread action going on.
I bet when you were taking your pizza class in Italy, they had no idea you were gonna mash it up and make a...
I don't think anybody in Italy's having a cheesesteak pizza.
I don't think so.
Here we go.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And then I like to serve it with either pickled banana peppers or pickled cherry peppers.
Yay!
In there. Jeb, you want to get in here
Oh, I'm
too?
gonna go in here. Look at this. Oh. Can I have a pepper?
Yeah, put some pepper on it. Don't burn your mouth, Cheesy. We don't want to hurt that iron chef palate.
Cheesy, don't burn yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
Sausage and pepper potato skillet. So I'm adding a bunch of onions and peppers to a skillet with a little bit of olive oil. And I'm gonna give them a stir. So I've got green bell peppers, orange bell peppers, and red bell peppers. And then just sliced white onion. And then for the taters, aren't these adorable? They call them marble potatoes because they look like a bowl of marbles, but they're just baby potatoes. There's red, purple, and Yukon Gold. And I'm just gonna add about half of this bowl. I don't need all of them. There we go. And the great thing about baby potatoes is just how short of a time it takes for them to cook. And that can be the only thing about using potatoes as part of like weeknight cooking. Sometimes they take a while to get done. Not so baby potatoes. Okay, look how cute. I'm gonna add plenty of salt and pepper because they are in fact potatoes and they require it. So I'm just gonna stir these around for 3 minutes to start the cooking process. All right, check it out, Paige. We're making progress. Everything's starting to cook. So for the sausage, I'm using kielbasa, just a big old sausage, cut it into little coins. You can do a smoked sausage. You could even do like a sausage that has cheese if you want. Any kind of sausage you prefer is just fine. And then, love this next ingredient. A cup of beer. Hello. Sausage and beer, they just go together. Is that a cup?
A little more.
There you go, that's a cup. Okay, and then, forgot the garlic. I was gonna add this earlier. Minced garlic. To really drive home that beer and sausage theme, I'm gonna add some grainy mustard. That was a good 2 heaping tablespoons right there. And then I'll stir it into the liquid, toss everything together. Okay, looking good. Oh look, one sad piece of sausage is still in the bowl. All right, I love the look of this so far. So now I'm gonna put the lid on the skillet. Now I'm gonna let this cook for about 8 minutes until the potatoes are tender. Alrighty, let's take a look, Paige. Ready? Ooh, I love this. It's just kind of a hearty, pepper-centric, flavorful skillet, and it's all in one pot. So to kind of bring in a little healthful component, I'm just adding some torn kale. This is totally optional, but I love it because it doesn't really fall apart like spinach, but it wilts just a little bit. All right, so just toss, and as that kale starts to wilt, it'll just pop with the brightest green color. I absolutely am in love with this. Okay, I'll serve it. And I will just prove to you what an awesome one-dish wonder this is. Those little baby potatoes are perfection. I want to get one of each color. There we go. Ooh, I love it. And then sprinkle on some parsley. Mmm, winner, winner, potato dinner.
We're doing a Creole cheesy breakfast skillet with andouille sausage. We got some shrimp, you know, add a little low country flair in there. Eggs and put some cheese on top, melted. Then we're gonna put this Creole sauce that my mom is making on top. So I got some mayonnaise in there. I need you to add some Worcestershire, say Worcestershire.
Some brown sauce.
Some Worcestershire sauce. Got some hot sauce, got some sweet paprika, got more of that Creole seasoning.
Okay.
Got a little garlic, got some chives. I cut up some dill pickles in there. We got some Creole mustard.
Just mix it up together.
Mix them up. I am just roughly chopping a half of a red bell pepper and a green bell pepper.
Oh, that's good.
Let me be the judge.
I think I might put a little more of that in it.
Little Creole mustard.
What do you think? Make you want to dance.
Ooh.
What I always say, when I'm cooking, have that music on. Huh? Make you put your foot in it.
All right. Well, that's good. While I go over here and get the veggies sauteed, I need you to crack 6 eggs and add that milk to it and whisk it up.
Okay. All right.
So I have a cast iron skillet here that's really hot. So to add some butter. And this is a well-seasoned cast iron skillet. I mean, so if I were to put anything in there, it wouldn't stick anyway, but just like to add a little bit of fat to it. Add my onion and pepper. I'm just gonna let this cook down till it gets slightly softened. I am going to grab some of this salt from you and help release some of this moisture in the veggies. So while this sautés down, I'm gonna get started on my house seasoning. Equal parts, sweet paprika, some garlic powder, teaspoon of onion powder, a little black pepper.
About a pinch of salt?
About a teaspoon of salt, yeah. Okay. Let me check on my veggies.
Okay.
You know what? Because I have to cook the andouille sausage, I'm gonna add that in there right now too. We use sausage a lot in our recipes in the Gullah community. We use a smoked sausage, which is pretty much similar, just andouille sausage is a little bit more spicy. Can you do me a favor? Can you put some of that house seasoning on the shrimp?
Sure.
You want that flavor in every bite. So when you bite into the sausage, it's like a burst of flavor. When you bite into the shrimp, it's gonna be a burst of flavor. And I'm just cooking this until the sausage gets a little brown. Okay, so that looks great. Let's add the shrimp now.
When I say it smells so good, I can't wait.
Is it saying something to you?
Ooh, it's like, oh, eat me.
These are medium-sized shrimp, so it's gonna take about 3 to 4 minutes until it turns opaque. Adding in my clove of garlic. The shrimp look just about done. Pour the eggs in.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn the heat down. The thing about eggs, you don't have to cook them on high heat. Just fold it in. You want more of big, fluffy clouds than overly scrambled eggs. That's one thing I can't stand, an overly scrambled egg. Let's turn the heat off, take the cheese.
What kind of cheese is that?
White cheddar. All right, so I have my oven set to broil. Just wanna pop this in here for a few seconds until the cheese melts.
Yeah, I see the cheese melting.
Ooh, Ma, look at that.
How pretty is that?
Drizzle it with a little bit of this Creole sauce.
Oh.
Put some of the green onion on top.
Okay. How pretty is that?
Skillet-roasted chicken and potatoes is the perfect comforting weeknight dinner. So what I did was I marinated chicken thighs in buttermilk, and what that does is really tenderize it for like 8 to 12 hours. Not more than that, otherwise it gets too tender. I'm just gonna take these chicken thighs and put it in a skillet, a little oil in the bottom, and just let the marinade drain off. These are bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. Okay, this is the last one, right in there. You want space between them so they roast really evenly. So I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of mustard and just a splash of white wine. I'm using Chablis, but whatever you have in the fridge. Just mix them together. This really has great layers of flavor because the mustard and wine And then I'm gonna add thyme. And you can just see it when it all bakes together. It's just fabulous. So this dish has chicken and potatoes together. I'm gonna cook the chicken first and then put the potatoes in. So you have a whole dinner. And this is just one skillet, no side dishes. When I started trying to make things in one dish instead of having lots of dishes as usual, I thought this was just fantastic because it might have taken a few minutes to make dinner, but cleanup was like such an easy thing to do. Okay, and then I'm gonna sprinkle it with fresh thyme leaves. Next is a little sprinkle of paprika, just gives a little smoky flavor to it. And then salt and pepper. Pepper. Nice thing about this dish is everybody loves it. Chicken and potatoes, what's not to like? Okay, into the oven, 350 degrees for 30 minutes. So the first part of the chicken is done. Oh, this looks delicious, just as it is, but I'm gonna make it even better. It smells fabulous. See how the chicken and the paprika and the thyme all make it have so much flavor. So I'm just gonna take the chicken out. I'll show you what I'm doing. This is the key to one-pot cooking. It has several stages. So I've got 2 large Yukon Gold potatoes, and they're actually unpeeled, which is even better. I'm just gonna put them right into the chicken juices and the flavors, the mustard and wine, everything that's in the bottom of this pan. Just slice them about a half-inch thick. And then I'm gonna flavor them. Can't have potatoes without garlic, so I've got a tablespoon of garlic, just goes on top of that. Salt and pepper. This is just a great weeknight meal. It's so easy to do. You do the first stage, have yourself a glass of wine, do the second stage, and dinner's ready. I'm just gonna toss the potatoes in the juices so they really get into the flavor of the potatoes. All those chicken juices and mustard and wine. Sounds good, doesn't it? Okay, now I'm just gonna put the chicken right back on. And then it goes back in the oven and finishes cooking. So you've got everything together in one dish. You don't even need a side dish. Just want to get all the juices. Okay, I'm going to get this back into the oven. I'm going to tell you what happens next. I'll put the skillet into a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. When the time's up, I'll take it out, raise the oven temperature to 425, transfer the chicken to a plate, and cover it loosely with foil. While it rests, I'll put the potatoes back into the oven for 15 minutes to get them brown and crispy. Then it's back to the oven to remove the potatoes. Yum. And I'll put the chicken back on top of the potatoes, ready for serving. And that's it. I mean, the chicken is moist and tender, and then the potatoes have that garlic and all the chicken juices. It's fantastic. I'm just gonna add a little bit of parsley, just because I can't stand not having as much flavor as possible, and a little bit of chive. Had some in the garden. So when somebody asks you that age-old question, what's for dinner? Here's the answer: skillet-roasted chicken and potatoes. It's just delicious.
Scalloped potatoes. So I'm adding some sliced Yukon Gold potatoes to a big skillet. I had some melted butter in there. Sprinkle with salt and pepper. Now, there's nothing complicated about this potato recipe, but it does kind of go in stages. I'm gonna add some very thinly sliced onions, and you want them to be thin because you want the onions to have plenty of opportunity, not just to soften, but to really, really cook with the potatoes. Okay, so now I just have to stir and start cooking the potatoes and onions. I'm gonna do that for about 6 to 7 minutes before I move on to the next stage. Okay, so the onions and potatoes are starting to soften. So for the next stage of cooking, I'm gonna add some garlic. And then I'm gonna add quite a bit of heavy cream because scalloped potatoes is definitely a creamy recipe. All right, and then I just need to stir a little bit just to make sure all the potatoes and onions are all coated in the cream. So now I'm gonna put the lid on and let it cook for another 6 or 7 minutes. All right, I'm gonna turn the heat off. This has been simmering away. And look, I'm not even gonna stir it at this point because the potatoes are looking absolutely amazing. They're very, very tender, and I don't wanna create kind of a mashed, mushed potato situation. So this is getting ready to go into the broiler, but first, I'm actually gonna add some strips of ham. And this is totally optional. You can also do cooked bacon if you want. Scalloped potatoes and ham.
It's a classic.
I mean, music to Alex's ears right there. And then a whole bunch of sharp cheddar cheese. And by whole bunch, I mean all the sharp cheddar cheese I could find in my fridge. But that's what scalloped potatoes are all about. At least in my world, they are. Scalloped potatoes, by definition, don't actually have to have cheese, but in my world, they do. All righty, now let's get this in the broiler, under the broiler, I should say. And there's really no hard and fast time. I'm just gonna put it in there and watch it, and then I'll pull it out when the cheese is melted and bubbly. I have high hopes.
Wow.
Oh gosh, look. Ooh, that's perfect. I wanted to kind of get it past that initial melted stage and make sure that the cheese and the edges of the potatoes got a little bit of brown.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know what to say. Now, it's perfect just like it is, and the great thing about this dish is that you can pull it out 30, 45 minutes before dinner and it'll still be perfect. It's actually a little better if you let it sit before you serve. But to serve, I like to have some fun, and you can wait and do this right before or just do it straight out of the oven. Big old pile of sour cream and a whole bunch of sliced green onions. And then it's almost kind of like a baked potato, scalloped potato, casserole, whatever. But how good does that look? So I have olive oil in a 10-inch skillet, and I'm adding garlic and chopped Kalamata olives, some capers, and this is a very weird ingredient, a tablespoon of, who wants to guess what this is?
Tomato paste.
Anchovy paste. If you can't find anchovy paste, though, you can just buy a tin of anchovies and chop up 4. That's basically what I just added. Cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes cut in half, and then crushed red pepper flakes for the win. Yes, Mauricio is so excited. Pasta Puttanesca is truly one of my favorite Italian pasta dishes. It's just so flavorful, so easy. It's basically like a pantry meal. So I'm gonna cook this mixture for just a couple of minutes. So for the liquid, I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup of white wine. It only takes a splash. And then about 1.5 cups of low sodium broth, nothing fancy. Okay, so now to the liquid, you add the tortellini. So this is just regular cheese tortellini, and I'm adding it right into the pan with the broth and the wine. I'll break it up a little bit. Now I just have to stir this and cook for exactly 5 minutes. This is going to be so good. Woo! Talk about a steam facial. Look at this, honestly, look. That sauce has basically cooked down. The pasta has absorbed it. Everything is just basically one with one another. So I'm gonna turn the heat way down, and I'm gonna grab some spinach. I love this because it just makes everything look prettier. And I'm just gonna stir it around for 1 minute until the spinach wilts. Look at that. Isn't that yummy and rustic and just beautiful? Now we just need to add some shredded Parmesan. And that is a 1 skillet pasta that I am totally excited about.
It's Friday night. And most Friday nights involve Jeffrey coming home and a roast chicken dinner. But I think tonight I'm gonna shake it up a little bit. I'm gonna do a skillet roasted lemon chicken, which is kind of like roasted chicken, but better. So first thing I'm gonna do is make a marinade, kind of a rub for the chicken. It's gonna give it a lot of flavor. I need 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme leaves, 1 teaspoon of whole fennel seeds, a tablespoon of salt. Seems like a lot, but it's a whole chicken. Teaspoon of pepper. I'm just gonna grind it all up together. This is a mini food processor. It's really useful. Comes in all different sizes. Okay, that's perfect. So I'm just gonna take 1/3 cup of olive oil, and I'm gonna mix the herbs right into it. I'm just gonna put all the spices right in. And the salt and pepper, all the flavors. Just whisk it right in. Okay, that's the herbed oil. Next I need a lemon. So 1 whole lemon. I usually cut off the ends just for appearance sake. Cut it in half, and then just do thick slices. One of the things that's unique about this chicken is that I cook the whole lemon in with the chicken, and the lemon is edible, even the peel, because it cooks in the chicken juices, and it's so delicious. I'll show you how it works. Okay, that's the lemon, ready for the skillet. It's really heavy, but it really does a great job. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put the lemon in, just kind of in one layer, the whole lemon. I know it sounds wild, but it really works. And next, I have 1 yellow onion. I'm just gonna put it right on top. This is like the easiest chicken dish on the planet. And then I have 2 cloves of garlic that I thinly sliced. Just put them right on top. Okay, next the chicken. So what I have is a butterfly whole chicken. I asked the butcher to take the back out, and what he did was flatten it like this. So I'm gonna start with the skin side down, and I've got my herb and oil mixture. I'm just gonna brush half of the herb and oil mixture on the bottom of the chicken, on the underside of it. Just brush it right on, it's really easy. It's got so much flavor in the fennel and thyme, salt and pepper, it all gets into the chicken. And then I'm gonna turn it over, grab it by its little legs, turn it over like that. And then what I do is I take a paper towel and dry the top, because I want the skin to brown, and that'll help it brown. And the oil and the herbs will do the same thing. So I'm just gonna pour the rest of this on top, brush it, make sure it's completely covered. How good does this look already? I mean, it's such a good chicken because it cooks really high temperature, it's really fast, and then the lemon and the onions and the garlic and the juices from the chicken make the most delicious sauce. So good together. Like a meal all in one. Okay, into the oven, 450 degrees for 30 minutes. Whoa, that's a really hot oven. Then I'm gonna put a little wine in, cook it for another 15 minutes, and it's gonna be perfect. Okay, I think the chicken's cooked for half an hour. And now I just need to put some wine in, about 1/2 cup. I make sure I put it around the chicken, not over it, because I really want the skin to brown and it'll stop it from browning. Perfect. Okay, back into the oven for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna squeeze a lemon on it, give it lots of flavor, and then let the whole thing rest for 15 minutes. It's gonna be fantastic. Oh, this smells amazing. Wow, so good. Okay, the last thing I wanna do is put some lemon on it. When the chicken's hot, it just really absorbs the lemon flavor. And then I'm just gonna let it rest for about 15 minutes. I'm just gonna cover it with aluminum foil loosely, just keep it warm. Very hot, be careful. Just gonna cut it up. I just do it in quarters, but you can do it any way you like. It's easy to cut because the backbone came out. The butcher took it out. Okay, right back in the sauce, and then I actually serve it right in the pan. Okay, that's done.
Beef noodle skillet. If there is one recipe I know will always be a hit, it's this one. I've just been cooking some onion and garlic in a little bit of butter, and the onions are getting nice and soft. So this is a good time to add the ground beef. Just a pound of ground chuck, and I'll add some salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna turn the heat up and just crumble this beef and cook it until it's totally browned. This recipe actually has a funny history. One time when the kids were all small, I said, let's go to the grocery store and you guys can pick whatever you want for me to make you for dinner. And you know what they picked? I'm not gonna name any names. They picked the box that comes with a seasoning packet and a bag of noodles. You know what I'm talking about. You add it to ground beef. So I've been trying to make a good homemade version of the box mix ever since. I think ground beef is one of the best proteins when it comes to budget-friendly cooking. If you have teenagers to cook for or a big family, you can buy packs of ground beef and it doesn't break the bank. Okay, that is totally browned. So I'm gonna add a good spoonful of tomato paste. The tomato paste just adds a little bit of richness to the sauce. So I'm just smushing it around on the skillet, mixing it in with the beef. And then remember that box product I told you about? One of the cool things about it is you put the noodles in without even cooking them first. So I'm putting egg noodles, 12 ounces, into the skillet. Now for the liquid, I'm gonna add about 2.5 cups of low sodium beef stock. And then I'll add a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a good squeeze of grainy brown mustard. Trust me, this is all gonna make sense before too long. A few dashes of Worcestershire sauce. Then I'm gonna add a little more pepper because the noodles and the beef definitely need it. I'm gonna stir it, and then I want the noodles to have enough liquid to cook. So I'm gonna add some hot water, about a cup to start. And while it's cooking, if it looks like it needs more, I can splash in a little bit more. And then stir it, make sure all those spices are worked in. So I'm going to reduce the heat to low, and I'll put the lid on, and I'll just let it simmer for 12 minutes, stirring it a couple of times along the way. Okay. It's time for the big reveal. Let's see what happened in here. Oh, it looks wonderful. Now you can totally serve it as it is now. It's pretty much finished, but I like to add just a little bit of creaminess. So I'll add some sour cream, and how much you add is totally up to you. It just depends on how creamy you want things to get. And just a splash or two of cream. It's sort of a stroganoff idea, but more budget friendly. And then I like to chop up some chives and just sprinkle them over the top. They make it a little bit prettier, and they sure add some good flavor. All right, chives go on. It's nothing fancy, but boy, is it delicious.